Welcome to Arnie's Class Podcast. I'm Arnie Aniel. I'm an HR development consultant, an international public speaker, a workshop facilitator, a coach, and an educator. Life is a great opportunity, and we all learn life lessons every day. This podcast is all about those lessons. Lessons like gratitude, confidence, happiness, mindset, and a lot more. Learning without action is information. Learning with action is transformation. Join me, learn, and transform yourself into a better you. Life mates and listeners, for this very first episode, the topic is about leadership. What is leadership? How do you define leadership? Do you consider yourself a leader? And if you do, what makes you an effective leader? Leadership is a topic that is discussed not only in the corporate world, I believe even among your friends, or even in simple chit chat. Every now and then, this is kind of topic that people talk about. What are the characteristics or traits or qualities of great leaders, good leaders, effective leaders? Nowadays, more and more female leaders are being known for their work, for the results that they achieve as leaders. Female leaders in the government and private sectors are making news around the world. And it's exciting to see new leaders, female leaders, doing great things. What makes female leaders different from male leaders? What are the advantages? What are the disadvantages? In today's episode with my very special guest, who is a leader, an international president of Toastmasters International, I'm sure everyone is going to learn not just one, not just two, but many lessons about leadership. Be ready, prepare your pen and paper as you listen to our conversation, because I can assure each one of you that you're going to learn a lot from my very special guests. Life mates and listeners, listen and enjoy, and welcome to Arnie's Class. Hello, life mates and listeners. Today's episode is not just special but extraordinary. I have a very special guest who is an entrepreneur with 3 businesses, an investor, a coach, a trainer, a speaker, and most of all, the International President of Toastmasters International. Can you imagine that? That's my special guest for this episode. Without further ado, please, listeners and life mates, please welcome distinguished Toastmaster Margaret. Hello, Margaret.
Hello, Arnie. It's a delight to be here with you today.
It's an honor. I'm very happy, excited, and at the same time very ready for this episode.
Excellent.
Yes. First of all, DTM Margaret, how will you define, or how do you define leadership?
That's a good question. When I went off to college, we studied, of course, leadership, and we learned all these theories about leadership. And I passed the exam with good marks, but at the end of the exam, I asked my prof, which leadership model do I use and when would I use it? And he said, well, it all depends. And so I was a little confused about, which theory should apply and when, and actually thought I came out more confused than I went into the class. But since that time, about 10, 15 years ago, I met this woman who made it really easy. She said that leadership is about looking out into your communities, your organizations, your families, and seeing what needs to be made better and being willing to put your thumbprint on that. And that had a shift for me, because prior to that, I always thought, I thought leadership was about enhancing things, making a positive difference. But I wasn't willing to raise my hand and be responsible. I was willing to help whoever was the leader. I didn't mind doing the work. I didn't really feel I needed the credit for it. But to be responsible, to leave your thumbprint, that's a different thing. That says, if things go bad with the direction that I want to take this, my shoulders are broad enough to take that, or I am that committed to that direction, I will take responsibility for it. But leadership really does come down to two things, and that's results and relationships.
Wow.
And yeah.
Very well said. Results and relationship. And how would you define yourself as a leader? What kind of leader are you?
That's a great question. It's so fascinating, because each of us has a different leadership journey. And the times we live in are all completely different as well. So I think each of us has leadership within us, and simply that you're willing to take responsibility for a project, a company, or whatever, speaks to what kind of leader you are. I like to think of myself as a collaborative leader, and a leader that cares about people.
Wow, very well said. Because I know some leaders out there, I don't think they care. They care maybe more on the result, but not on the relationship part.
What shifted gears for me in that regard was Toastmasters. I have to give credit to Toastmasters, because as a business person, I owned a business in the oil industry at the height of when things were exploding in the oil industry. And it really was about results. And sometimes when people weren't performing at their best, it was easy to fire, easy to hire. And the focus really was on results. It wasn't until I became a Toastmaster when you can't fire somebody.
Yes, everyone. You cannot ask, like, please leave. You cannot be a Toastmaster.
And you can't pay more money, to get the best. You can't pay more money. So it totally shifted the way I interact as a leader. And I feel so much better about myself as a leader, and about the accomplishments of any project that I lead or organization. I'm a more compassionate, more empathetic leader because of Toastmasters. And I would hate to think of where I'd be today had I not learned those lessons at Toastmasters.
I can't agree more, because there's no remuneration involved.
No.
And no one resigns unless they stop being a member or attending the meeting. Fascinating. And how long have you been a Toastmasters?
Since 2003.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
2003.
18 years. 18 years.
Now I feel like a baby.
When did you join, Arnie?
Not that long, but it's 2009, I think.
Okay, so I've been a member 6 more years. When I came to Toastmasters, I had in my mind I was coming for one semester, like a university, at university, right? One semester, that ought to accomplish it, right? Okay, well, I didn't get my CC done in 6 months' time. Okay, I'll stay for the year.
Yes, I still remember when I was also like doing and completing the projects for CC, and then all the other projects that you have to do.
Thankfully, we had someone come to the club I belonged to, and she had been a 25-year member of Toastmasters, and she moved to the community. And I was about to leave. I was doing my last speech, and I thought, okay, that's it. The meme of that club was you accomplished your competent communicator and you rode off into the sunset. Very few people stayed beyond that. But this person came with a lot of Toastmaster experience. And when she evaluated somebody else, I looked around the room and I thought, did you just hear what I heard? That that was like, a choir of angels, and the medicine was like the those pills they used to give you, or the vaccinations in the sugar cube. It was amazing. And I thought, I'm staying to learn from her.
Oh, wow. Yes,
Yeah.
like a breakthrough. That
Yes, she was
someone's like,
amazing. She was
nice.
amazing.
And
Yeah.
then you stayed for like until now and became the international president.
Yeah. But certainly that was, I never set out at any time to be, and not until I was an international director. And then at the end of that, then I set myself up to be someday be international president. But prior to that, it was only as far as the headlights ever went. Okay, the door would be open for opportunity. I would peek in there and think, can I make a difference in there? And if I felt that I could make a positive difference, then I was willing to step through that door. But I never had a long range plan to be an international director or to be international president. It was just one baby step at a time.
What made you become who you are at the moment as an international president?
I think the experiences that we have shape us. And of course, who our role models are, who we reach out to for mentoring, for guidance, and what you fill your head with. The books you read also help shape you to a point, because our founder, Ralph Smedley, felt that leadership couldn't be learned in a book. He felt you had to experience it, that emotion of the actual act of leading. And so while we can learn a lot of theory in books, it's experiencing that where the real growth happens. But so life experiences, the books you read, and the people you surround yourself with. And I've always attempted to surround myself by amazing people.
Do you think there's a big difference between male leaders and female leaders?
That's a great question. Sometimes it depends. I have met some amazing male leaders who are very open to female leadership and embrace, doesn't matter what gender you are. And then I've met some males who are a little bit closed to female leadership, resistant to it, haven't had as much experience with female leadership to recognize that, oh, okay, this is slightly different than who I am. And strong enough that they're okay with that, strong enough in their own leadership, then they can accept that. And then I've met some female leaders who attempt to lead like a male, or maybe even resistant to male leadership. So I think it's across the board. We see good leadership in all forms, don't we?
Yes, of course.
Mm-hmm.
But what do you think? Yes, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I would say, men are quicker to come to a decision of where they're going, quicker to come to that vision, and then more focused on the vision. So that's my interpretation of the men that I have been around. Women are more collaborative about how we get to the vision, and more about the bonding, more about the team, bringing the team together and all arriving there at the same place. That's how I would describe the distinction between the two.
That was supposed to be my question, actually. Of course, no, DTM Margaret very well said, you already answered. Because I was about to ask, what do you think are the distinctive qualities of male leaders compared to female leaders? And you answered it very well. Yes, I believe women or female leaders are more collaborative if we compare them to male leaders, to their counterpart.
Yeah. And both those strengths are both needed, aren't they, to make a difference in the world. You need that leader that is so focused on the vision that's going to get you there, and not distracted by anything else, and really committed and direct. And that's what I love about the men that I have the opportunity to work with that are amazing leaders. And of course, the females that I get to work with I've had the amazing opportunity this last year to work with the international incoming president of Rotary, who's a female, the incoming president of the Lions Club, who's a Canadian female, the international president of the YMCA, who's a female. So I've had lots of opportunity to work with other splendid leaders and support them, and they support me. So
That's
great
nice.
learning opportunity.
Yes. In your opinion, do you think the world is more open now or ready for female leaders? Because more and more female leaders, like presidents, prime ministers, and big
Yes, yes,
organizations like Toastmasters.
yes, absolutely. I think so. We were very lucky. Next year, Rotary will be getting their very first female president. We had our first female president, I believe, in 1984, and in Toastmasters in 1998, we had more females on the board than males. There was 23 members of the board, and I believe there were 13 at the time that were female and 10, something like that. We currently, Toastmasters International current board is 11 females and 8 males. So what other organizations have really struggled to get that diversity on their board, we've been doing it in Toastmasters for over 20 years. So we're very fortunate that way that Toastmasters embrace, and that's probably because it starts at the very grassroots level in the club. You know, clubs are open to that 7-member executive, that they're male and females, and we just continue to grow and evolve together, and that gender isn't really a factor in that growth. We just create the space where each individual is allowed to grow in their authenticity of who they are.
Yes, totally agree with that, because I've been a Toastmaster for, I think it's my 12th year. And I can see totally what you just said. And in your post, I believe you started in your office in August?
Yes.
In August.
Yes.
What are you bringing to the table, to Toastmasters?
Well, I am bringing, I think, a greater sense of community right now. We've had to, and that has been forced on us, but that's also what women are known for, is that bonding and bringing that sense of community. So we're talking about that, about the connection and about community and doing things together. And in each and every club is providing that space of that quality club, and being caring about the members that you have. We're leveling up mentoring in Toastmasters overall. We put a new focus on that with Pathways Learning Experience, and certainly mentoring has been always our pillars of strength. But a couple other things that I've invited members to do around the world. I call it my 3-2-1 model. And that's at the end of every meeting, catalog 3 things that you learned at this meeting. Number 2 is to provide 2 compliments to members in that club. And I call it unique compliments. So it has to be something that they haven't heard before. So this is not a speech evaluation. This is what you've noticed about that individual that they may not notice themselves. And it has to be unique, so they can't have heard it before. And then 1 is to express gratitude to someone in that meeting who made it possible for you to grow and learn today. So I think that 3-2-1 also is bringing that forward, those things that we need to do in order to bring that sense of community and commitment to each other. When people come to Toastmasters, often there's this great fear of public speaking. And then you have to learn about the club model, and you have to learn about the leadership, about how that club is led and the organization. And then you're learning about pathways. And there is so much to learn. Sometimes we forget about our humanity and how we can serve each other and make a huge impact in somebody else's life just by saying a few things once in a while, makes a big difference, doesn't it? Words can humble, words
Yes.
can help, and make a difference.
Yes. Oh, I love that 3, 2, 1. If I may just say that again, 3 things that you learn, 2 things as compliments, and 1 gratitude.
That's right.
Very interesting. I love
Yes.
that.
Imagine every member did that each and every meeting. So I do mine in my notes in my iPhone. And then before the next meeting, I pop it open. Oh, yeah, that's, to reinforce the learning. And you're a trainer. So you know that, Arnie, at the
Yes.
end, you always reinforce. We do have the general evaluator, it does, but each individual then takes more responsibility for their own learning. Jot down 3 things you learned, send 2 compliments, but the compliments really help you, your awareness, heightened awareness, but also helps you I like the way that Arnie is always helping people pull out their confidence. I want to be like Arnie. I want to be that way, so that awareness helps you to understand who you want to become.
Yes.
And of course, there's a huge gap in North America, not so much in Vietnam or Thailand where you are, but certainly in North America, we have a gratitude gap that, 68% of employees are disengaged in the workforce in North America.
68%.
68%.
Oh, that's huge.
It's massive.
Oh, wow.
And one of the things that has come out of the studies and research is no one expresses any gratitude to them. No one tells them how they're doing. So they end up shutting down, turning off, focusing on, something else.
Oh, that's very sad.
It's very sad. But at Toastmasters, we can make a difference in each other's lives, and hopefully then it has a ripple effect and goes beyond that. Maybe every meal at your own home that
Yes.
you make an effort to say thank you to someone who prepared the meal or provided the finances to put food on the table, whatever it is.
Yes.
It's a model. It's who you become. That's what we're creating, people of character.
That's right. That's why I have my gratitude journal. I've been doing it for, I think, 5 years now, and I encourage a lot of people to write down at least 3 things that you are thankful for on a daily basis.
Yes.
DTM Margaret, you just started your office, but my question is actually the last day next year of your term as the international president. After your term, on your last day, what would you like the people to remember you by as the international president?
That question was asked of past international president Deepak Menon. We asked that question of him, and he said, "I want you to forget about me. It's about you. I hope you never think about me again, because it is all about you, that you have grown this year, that you have made a difference." And he said, I just want to have been the catalyst, but I don't want you to remember me for that. He said, and it to me spoke of the character that he is. It was not ego at all the work that he did, all the difference that he made, but he had no ego about it, that he wanted to be recognized for it. But of course, we want to make a difference. We want to make a positive difference. And so what I have invited district leaders around the world is to build back stronger. And that's every time I speak somewhere, I encourage them. It's about quality clubs. And right now we're at a pivotal point in our history. Never has it been a greater opportunity to invite members into your club, because geography is no longer a limiting factor.
Yes.
And so now it's the time to up-level the clubs. I'd like to see membership in clubs between 28 and 32. I think that's the sweet spot of clubs, and, professional agendas, variety in the meetings, recognizing member achievement, fun and support of all those elements that are of a quality club. And so if at the end of the year quality has risen and we have expanded in some way, more clubs, more members, I will be overjoyed with excitement, but I don't want the credit. I want the credit to go to the district leaders and the club leaders. They are the ones that do the work.
Wow. Wow. As I said, you just started and I'm already asked you about your last day as the international president. Now, on the other side of your life or your personality, not just a Toastmaster, with all the years as a coach, as a trainer, entrepreneur, if there's one lesson that you think you can share to everyone, what is that one lesson you've learned
Well, the one one
that
lesson
made an impact of who you are, DTM Margaret?
Well, relationships has made a huge impact on me, as we spoke about earlier. It's really about relationships. You can't. There isn't a business in the world that ultimately, whatever you're doing, is about impacting another individual. Even if you're making steel products or components or something that's a very material thing, ultimately, it's to enhance somebody's life in some way. But beyond that, beyond relationships, which, what else is there? But
Yes.
beyond that, what I've learned is about wishy-washy language. I feel that it's in limiting beliefs. Those are the two things that very much hold people back. Social psychologists tell us that 60 or 70% of our internal dialogue is negative thoughts, automatic negative thoughts. And so how do we change that around? And I believe that's one of the amazing things about Toastmasters. We're always giving positive feedback, reminding someone what you do well, reinforcing that. And so hopefully we distill those negative voices in their head, and instead, I can do that. I can do that. I have the ability to do that. But wishy-washy language is sort of that second piece about somebody may say, I'm going to write a book, and another person may say, I'm going to write a book about confidence, and I'll complete it by June 30th, and the audience is for this. And that's sometimes what happens is we get trapped into wishy-washy language, and it doesn't move us forward. Instead, some people end up in procrastination and being disappointed. They're not able to achieve goals. It's because they don't have well-formed goals, and the messaging that they're giving into their own subconscious mind is not quality messaging.
Yeah, and if I can add to that, in Toastmasters, we have this very friendly and supportive environment, which is very important because just like what you said, if someone says, I'm going to write a book, and then the people around, who are you to write a book? So that those comments and feedback that you get outside, not only your internal thoughts, but because you don't have that supportive environment, I think it's also one factor that why people, they don't really achieve what they are supposed to achieve.
Mm-hmm.
You've been talking about relationships and collaborative leadership. How do you nurture relationships in and outside of Toastmasters?
That's a good question. Just this last week, I was thinking about the metaphor, and I haven't quite got there yet, Arnie. So
okay.
But the jar where they put the big rocks in, and then they put the pebbles, and then they put the sand, and they talk about those things in your life. Well, there's a big things that leaders have to do, which is about the vision and inspiring everyone to, and, having the courage and the delegation and all those other aspects of leadership. So those are the big kind of rocks, but those little pebbles, those little stones, those are the individual relationships. And so Toastmasters is an organization of over 300,000 members. I can't reach out to 300,000 members and speak one-on-one like you and I are here, Arnie. But every day I can reach out to one or two people and make a difference to them. Or at the end of the week, I can make 5 or 10 calls to people. So it's those little the one-on-ones. So the big rocks you have to have, but if you don't do the little pieces as well. And for leaders, if you're leading a manufacturing company, if you're not out on the plant floor walking and speaking with those that are on the front lines, if you're not doing that, I'm afraid you're not going to be very successful in your leadership. You need to reach out, understand the people, be open to listening that we learn so well in Toastmasters, and then be willing to take what you hear and use it to serve everyone.
Nice. Yes, of course. And relationship, and at the same time, leadership. That's what we've been talking. But I want to know what decision you've made in the past that made an impact in your life, both in the relationships and leadership.
Okay. When I was, this is a Toastmaster one, when I was district governor, there wasn't all the, I didn't have all the resources that I wanted, limited resources, because there's only so many people that are willing to step up to leadership and have the time and capacity in their life at that particular year. And so and I had raised my hand and said I was willing to do it. However, I was at an event one day and I was checking up on everything, making sure this was done, making sure this was, and, talking to this person. And there were people all around me that were laughing and having a good time. And I thought, I'm not having a good time. They're having a good time, but I wasn't having a good time. Here I was in the job that I wanted, and here I am, and I'm not enjoying it. I realized that it was up to me to see the magic. And so I've used that acronym, MAGIC, moments of awe and grace I see. So that moment when I watch someone else, that, two of them laughing, that's a moment for me to stop and thought, oh, because I've done some part of this event or some part of that, look at the joy that they're having. And I have to find joy in that. And happiness and that joy can be fleeting. But every day I look for that joy, and I walk or ride my bike and I look for the flower that's grown since the day before, the sound of the bird, or now the red leaves that are falling on the ground, how magical they are. And so that's what I learned, because I was so overwhelmed at that particular time with work and everything, and I was unhappy, and I realized I'm the one to blame. It's not anyone else around me's responsibility to make me happy.
That's right.
It's my responsibility. But I guess I came through that too I was married for a long period of time. I married young. I married when I was 21 years old and eventually had a divorce. But since that time, that was a long time ago, I realized that my expectation of my partner, my husband at that time, I expected him to be all things.
I see.
All things. And so nobody can be all things to you. That confident, that friend, that,
all in one.
Yeah. So, and so that was the lesson, not to look for everything in one thing, is to realize this brings me joy, this brings me meaning, this brings me connection with my family, this, and not to try and expect people or organizations or careers to deliver all things to you. Instead, find those moments of joy and find what it is that's calling to you from this element or this element, and really understand that.
I love that. I especially that magic that you shared. Oh, yes. And the simple things that makes us happy, like those flowers, the leaves, simple things in life. Sometimes we We really expect big things, but we don't pay attention to the small things that actually are the big things in life.
That are actually the big things. Yeah. On my windowsill, I have some of these small little members have given me over the time. There was a district leader from Mexico who gave me a little dragon. It has some meaning in his country. And then I have a little Buddha that Deepak Menon gave me from India. And I have, they're just small little things. But every time, I'm standing at my kitchen and I'm washing and I have a hummingbird feeder, and the hummingbird comes along there and feeds. And I just have the memory of that person and that experience, that person that inspired me. Those are way more meaning than, some other thing,
Yes.
an expensive car or a diamond ring or something. This that has way more meaning to me.
Yes. Small things, but bring meaningful memories,
That's right.
experiences, and remind us of
Experience.
people
Yeah.
who made difference not only in our lives but in the world.
Yeah.
Yes, I
Yeah.
love that. I hope I can visit you one day and to listen to that hummingbird.
Where have you been to America, Arnie?
Yes, I've been to the US. Actually, I was supposed to visit again last year, but because
Mm,
of COVID,
yeah.
yes. And I
How are the
hope
people in Thailand now? Are you all vaccinated? What is the situation?
most people are vaccinated, but at the same time, others are still waiting, especially if you're a foreigner, still waiting, but getting better. The cases are not as bad as like a month ago, and
Mm,
the quarantine time is now less. It's now 7 days
okay.
instead of 14 days. And I hope that this will continue and then everyone gets better. And it's because
Yes.
unemployment and the impact of
Yes.
COVID to everyone,
Yeah.
especially in the hotel industry,
Yes. Yes.
really
It's the
bad.
tourism industry has been particularly hard hit, and
Yes,
that's been so unfortunate. Yeah.
yes. And thank you so much for asking that because that's my next question.
Mhm. What's
COVID, yeah, the pandemic has changed even Toastmasters. Like before, we're delivering speeches, doing the evaluation, and networking face to face. And now it's in this small box.
yeah.
And they said it's more challenging. How can you encourage more people? Because I believe it's not only in Thailand. I think some of the clubs out there are also suffering to get more members because some members are not really comfortable to speak in the small box and they said it's not the same. How will you
That's
encourage?
sure. It's not the same, but it took strength and courage to learn how to stand up in front of a room too. And every time we break through every time we're in a discomfort zone, it means we're about to do something new or try something new. And the way of the world is going to be hybrid meetings, that not just Toastmasters, in corporate America, in the business arena around the world, there's always going to be, from this point on, in fact, they estimate about 40-50% of meetings will continue to be virtual or hybrid in the years ahead. And so it behooves all of us to be able to manage in this space and learn how to build connection with that green dot, to
Yes.
somehow hold that mental space or that space in your heart, and that belief that you are connecting with people. You have to feel it, and not just say I can't do it, but be willing to step, okay, I want to feel this. I want to feel those people. Just like you doing a podcast, you want to feel those people that are listening, that may not be listening today, but a week from today, or that you want to provide such meaning and such emotion that will come through to them. And we have that opportunity to do that in the club environment. There has for me, I have had so much opportunity. I'm almost immediately created a program called Lights, Camera, Action. And I've been delivering it to chambers of commerce, to cities, to businesses that have been challenged in this arena, and so many meetings that were so poorly held, and people with their videos off, and all kinds of challenging things. Well, we get to lead the way. We get to lead the way. And the only we have some people in some countries that the bandwidth doesn't work, so they have to have their video off. But I think that's a real shame. When I come into a video room, I say, please turn on your video. We want you fully engaged, fully present, be here in the room with us and be part of the experience. It's a co-creating, correct? Yes. Yeah.
Because sometimes it's already difficult to connect only through the camera. And then if your camera is off, how can we have that connection?
And, then it says to me, you might be answering email, you might be cooking supper, you might be, I want you fully present. And then we can have a richer conversation. We can get below, what's riding on the surface and really start to understand each other as individuals.
Totally agree. I've been into some meetings. I also encourage them that please, for as long as you're not naked, turn on the camera.
Well, that's great. That would start with some humor. That's your signature, isn't it, Arnie?
People tell me like that because I always tell them, please turn on the cameras for as long as you're not naked. And please, I want to see you. I know you're in your underwear with your blazer, but that's totally fine. We can enjoy each other for as long as don't show it to me.
Oh, you're so much fun.
It's a different world now, and we just have to embrace this. And I think what's very important is the connection.
The connection. And there's two other things. I feel that because I've invited people in my home, when I first started, because I coached some CEOs and executives, and I told them, don't use a virtual background, invite people into your homes, be comfortable with that. And so they did that. And then later on, I said, virtual backgrounds are almost like different kinds of jewelry or shoes. We used to show our character with, jewelry or shoes. But, if you want to use your virtual background to show a bit of character. But I remember one of the very first speeches I did in Zoom, and I shared about being in quarantine and my grandsons coming while I was in quarantine. It was my birthday, and they were singing outside my door, happy birthday. And I went up to the window and, was smiling. There were 3 grandsons, and one of them was 7, and he kept hiding behind his mom. And finally, I made eye contact with him, and he was sheer fear, terror. Grandma wasn't safe. We couldn't go inside her house. And so after they left, I just fell on the floor in a heap, realizing his life is going to be so very much different, and that he was fearful for me just struck an arrow through my heart. But I told that story in my Toastmasters meeting, and it was, March of 2020. We were all and the whole group, we all cried. We had a group cry. In fact, the chair couldn't continue on leading the meeting. I had to for a wee bit, because we allowed each other, we allowed ourselves that pain, and we expressed that pain. And so in some ways, we're not building connection, physical touching, and on the other hand, I think the meetings that I have been in, people have been willing to be real about their fears, their hurts, what's challenged them, and fewer masks. And so I think there's a rich quality in that, if you're willing to open up to that.
Yes. Oh, that's a beautiful story. Yes. We are in a very challenging situation, and it's really important that we keep that kind of connection, especially with our families, our friends, and just to all the people out there, that they're not alone. We are all together in this, and it's going to be better. We're almost done, DTM Margaret, but I still have three questions for you.
Okay.
One is, how do you tap on people's leadership or potentials to be leaders? Because I believe, for me, in my opinion personally, I always measure leadership with the ability to actually produce more leaders.
Yeah. So one of the things that I do, and I guess it's become inherent in me, so I don't do that deep thinking about it. I don't think deliberately about it. It just happens now. But at one time, of course, I had to do it on a conscious level. When you and I were talking before the show, I asked you, what's your big dream? What is your big dream? And so as a leader, my responsibility to you is to help you get there in some way. And I always close my emails with, in support of your success. And that's the way I led as a district leader as well. I never asked anyone, would you be area director? Would you be division director? Would you be this? I would reach out to someone and say, tell me what your hopes and dreams are. Tell me what you want. Where are you going? And that's my responsibility as a leader, or someone that our life paths have crossed. It's my responsibility to help you in some way to get there.
Wow. And I
Yeah.
hope, and I'm sure, not hope, but I'm sure you can help a lot of people to become leaders in Toastmasters.
Yes, we have the foundation for it. We have the model for it. It's the right model at the right time, I think.
Yes, yes.
Mhm.
And what advice can you give, if there's one, two, or three advice that you can give to those people, whether they are Toastmasters or non-Toastmasters, on how to become leaders?
Um, be willing to test yourself. Don't be afraid. Whatever it is you want to make a difference in life, think about that, and however you want to, then it's not a giant leap to that spot. There's baby steps to get there, and you have to grow to get there. So be willing to make those baby steps, to learn the basics of good communication, learn the basics of good leadership, about time management, about delegation, about supporting people, developing people, all those things to get you to your big bodacious goal. But sometimes those baby steps don't look too romantic.
Yeah, they're not sexy.
They're not sexy. They're not sexy. But if you want a sexy future or a compelling future, be willing to do the hard work and test yourself. I'm willing to see if I can do this. I'm willing to see if I can make this happen. And set your goals up high, because it's the person you become when you set high goals. If you only set a 6-inch bar, and it's easy to walk over, you haven't pushed yourself. So set high bars for yourself, and you will be rewarded every step of the way, because your potential is continually out in front of you. And so when you've raised the bar, you've expanded your potential and what you're capable of doing in the future.
Yes. I thought I'm going to ask the last question, but I remember another question. Just a question. What can you say, or what can you tell the women about leadership? Because I think there are still women out there who are not willing to raise their hand and say that I can do it. I'm a
Mhm,
leader and I
mhm.
can make a difference. I think there are still a lot of women out there. And
Yeah.
how can you lift their spirits and really encourage them that, yes, you have the potential and you can be one?
hmm I worked with women running for political office for a long period of time, and we did lots of research studies with the Department of Transportation and other. And so out of the research came that men will wake up in the morning and they'll say, I think I'll run for council person or MLA or whatever your political offices are, if you have that in your government. But women want to hear other women or other men say, you can do it. You can do it. Arnie, you would make a great district leader. You would make a great lecturer. You would be a great workshop leader. So women want to hear it. So there's a couple women have written a beautiful book now. It's called Big Friendship, and it's just a fabulous book about women's relationships and friendships, about how there's so many marriages end in divorce now, and how important a friendship relationship is in your life. And in that book, they create something that's called shine theory, which is to shine a light on other people's successes. And so if you're looking that maybe you're not stepping up in leadership, shine a light on somebody else, and somebody else, I'm sure, will turn around. That's a challenge that us women have, is, if I may take another minute, Arnie.
Yes, please.
When women get a compliment, we have a tendency to get rid of it right away, to throw it back on someone else. You have a great dress. Oh no, but your haircuts, your speech was way better. You were, we're afraid
Yes.
to hold that. So my guidance when I talk about those two unique compliments, women, hold the compliment. You may not push it back, because in a way that's rejecting the compliment if you go
Correct.
right away and compliment the other. So your job is to hold on to it for 24 hours. So when we're building leadership in others, or trying to inspire women to step up, first of all, make them feel they can do it, because they can. They absolutely can. But shine a light on their gifts. Shine a light. What's their X factor? What's their secret sauce? What's amazing about them? Most of the time, what's amazing about us is like the nose on the end of our face. We can't see it ourselves, but if we hear it, oh, okay, I'm going to use that skill. I'm going to use that ability. I'm going to step into that a part of myself that I haven't acknowledged. So shine a light on others, and they'll shine a light on you.
Oh, wow. Amazing. I'm learning a lot, and I'm sure the listeners are also learning a lot. Like you mentioned about the 3, 2, 1, the magic, lights, camera, action, and now the shine theory. I believe there are also some men who are not comfortable receiving compliments, not only women. I know
Mm.
some people out there also. Please take DTM Margaret's advice. Hold on to it. 24 hours, 48 hours, or even 72 hours.
Good job. Yeah.
Yes. My last question, finally, after all the learnings and these conversations we're having, I'm enjoying it so much. But of course, something that begins also has an end.
Mm.
And my last question, DTM Margaret, is if you're going to write your book, or maybe someone is going to write a book about your life, what will it be, and what will be the title of the book?
Well, I actually started to write a book, and it was calling it "The Legends of Toastmasters." So it's about the unsung heroes. So not the past presidents, not the people that we see on Facebook all the time, but the unsung people, the people that have done such amazing work to support other individuals, that just their character, their integrity, their respect is to feature that. That's what I would like to do, is to write a book about the legends of Toastmasters. But a book about myself, I guess it would be about being willing to step through the door of opportunity.
Oh, wow. And the title would be The doors of opportunity.
The doors of opportunity. Why not? I'll have to work on that for a while and see what we come up with. Maybe you'll come up with a great title for me, Arnie, or maybe someone listening to your podcast will send in some suggestions for a title.
Yes, maybe we should ask them to please send me any suggestions,
Yes, that would be
especially
wonderful.
those who know you very well.
Yes.
Since we are both Toastmasters and you're the international president, I should not miss asking you for a message to all the Toastmasters around the world, especially, of course, in Thailand or in District 97, where I belong.
Mhm.
Selfish that I can be, but for District 97 and the Toastmasters, of course, around the world, a message from the international president.
Will certainly embrace my 3-2-1 model. And if you do that, you'll get to where you want to go quicker, faster, better. But to leaders out there, if you're a club leader, a district leader, or leading in the region, something that called to me when I was first a Toastmaster and probably has been one of the driving factors why I'm here today is a past district governor said to me, he said, we owe it to those that came before us to leave the organization in better shape than we found it, so that those that come after us have a place to grow and learn. And I know there were some people that went to extraordinary measures to have a club that I belong to in a very remote part of Canada and spent hours ensuring that club. This was before I joined the club. And had they not done that, I wouldn't have had a place to grow and learn. And my life wouldn't have been changed. The trajectory of my life would be very much different than it is today. And the opportunities that I have wouldn't have opened up. So make a difference in other people's lives and you will be rewarded the rest of your life.
Wow, amazing. Awesome. I don't know how else I can describe that message. And I'm sure everyone will learn a lot from this episode once this is out because I myself, I've learned a lot from our conversation, distinguished Toastmaster Margaret. And it's a pleasure, an honor, and I don't know
Pleasure.
what else to say. It's
Thank you. I
yes,
feel blessed to have this time with you. I hope you'll send me the link and I will share it with those I'm in contact with.
I will do. I will do. And thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. Thank you so much. It's a blessing to have you in my podcast. And as a matter of fact, this is going to be my pilot episode for
Okay.
my podcasts, an international
Okay.
president in my podcast. Thank you so
Wonderful.
much. And of course, Toastmasters International, all the members, all the leaders are very happy to have you as our president. And we
Oh,
wish you
thank you.
all the best, all the support, and all the success that you deserve.
Oh, thank you so much. And
Thank
much
you very
success
much.
and much love to you as well, Arnie.
Yes, sending love and prayers. And thank you so much to all the listeners, life mates. Another wonderful episode. And if you learn and you like this episode, please like, share to your friends and families because life's lessons continue every day. Each day we learn something. And I'm sure in this episode, we learn massive lessons about leadership and shine every day. Thank you so much.
Thank you.